very important to attend, as important as the POE submissions. And so we really appreciate it when people are able to join. Now, let's first just quickly reflect. The last time we had the CPD workshop, and there was a presentation by Andy on exactly how CPD works, what you need to do to accumulate points, the kind of activities and events that can help you accumulate points, and so on. We only, unfortunately, had 4 people who attended that session. There were only 4. Let me just have a look. Okay, I don't have the names here, but I know that the 4 people that did attend, Lauren, you were one of them, am I correct?
Jonathan, I don't think I attended that workshop. I think I was writing exams, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think I've attended that one.
Okay, you didn't attend that one. Let me just check. Anna is here. Anna, you were there, right? And Anna, you did also achieve your professional designation. Are you there, Anna?
You can unmute yourself, colleagues, if you want to talk.
Yeah. I know Anna was there. Ntombi, Gladys, you also attended the workshop, am I correct? I just don't.
Yes, I did. I attended the last workshop that we had.
So,
yes, I attended, Jonathan.
Yeah, I know. And Anna, I know Anna was in the workshop as well.
Anna also attended as well.
Yes. Gladys, who was the other one again? I just don't have that attendance with me now.
It's myself, Gladys Kumede, Anna Ngobe, Nondumiso Klo.
Yes. Nondumiso, you're also here at the moment. Yeah. So let's just hear. You remember that there was an action plan for you to go and think about what are the kind of things that you're going to do to be able to accumulate to start gathering CPD points. Is there anything that you'd like to share perhaps with us on how you've started gathering some evidence of activities or events where you have started accumulating your points?
I've not.
Not
yes,
yet?
I have coordinated the induction for the internship, but I've not yet recorded. I've just scribbled it.
Oh, I see. Okay. So at least you've started becoming aware of the kind of activities that you should keep records of for your CPD points.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thanks, Gladys. Okay, and Nondumiso, do you have audio there? Can you unmute? And Anna? So if you
yes,
have,
Jonathan.
Yes, hi Anna.
Hi Jonathan, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and best wishes to all of you for the new year.
And I have also received my certificate for achieving. And I'm so happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, so just on the question of CPD, you know now that you have your designation, you need to start making notes and keeping records of those things that will help you to accumulate points, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So any feedback on that score so far?
Currently, I'm busy with the recruitment of learners for the AET programs.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are filling forms and I'm capturing the information.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But just
Okay.
remember the kind of events that when you attend, you should make sure that you have a record. There's also the ASDSA events that are organized from time to time, where you can also accumulate points, and the other activities as we had covered in the workshop. So I think on that note, I'd like to encourage everyone to try and make a point of attending CPD workshops, because that's where it's explained and unpacked, so that you
Just
can
a
understand.
comment.
Yes, Andy.
Just a comment. This workshop is worth points as well, of course.
Yes.
So once you've got your designation, each of these workshops accumulates you points.
Yes, attendance to these workshops as well. Yes. Thank you, Andy. Attendance at these workshops. You'll also see now that you will be receiving the invitations to our conversations sessions once every fortnight. You also gather and accumulate points. You get points from there as well. But for you to understand how the CPD thing works, if you go to the ASDSA website and you go to the events tab, you'll see there that there are the scheduled dates for ongoing CPD workshops throughout the year. You should try and make a point, and even if you attended the one we delivered under this project, you might want to have a refresher. So feel free to go to our website, go to the events tab, and then see on which date you'll be able to attend that CPD session. You know, it's very, very useful for you to get a proper understanding of the whole CPD process. Now, guys, it is critical because remember we explained before, once you achieve your designation, it's not like a qualification where you have it for life and you do nothing. If you don't accumulate your 30 points for the year, you could lose your designation. You know, so on the one hand, it is intended for you to remain current, because that's one of the characteristics of a true professional, is that they always remain current in their field of expertise. So that's on the one hand, and that's in line with the entire notion of your credibility as a skills development professional, that you are always current and updated by attending events and delivering papers or doing presentations or coaching others or registering for your own further training and advancement and so on. But attend the workshop and you'll hear about all the different ways in which you can accumulate points. But on the other hand, of course, you need to retain your designation on an annual basis. You know, you've worked hard, you've done the POE, you've gone through all those evaluation processes, and it is very, very important that you maintain or retain that designation through the CPD points that are required. Okay, so before we proceed beyond this, I'd just like us to congratulate all of our colleagues who have made it and achieved their designation so far. They've walked this difficult journey and achieved the success. So I'm just gonna tell you the names of everyone so far. We have announced on the group whenever someone achieves it, but just to acknowledge and congratulate you guys. So we've already mentioned Anna. Anna has achieved Then we've got Beryl. Beryl, well done. We've got, let's see, the next one is Jandre. Jandre has his designation. We've already mentioned Ntombi, Gladys. And then we've got Princess. She has achieved her designation, Princess Nkosi. And then the next person is Thelma. And Thelma has got the master's designation, as a matter of fact. So that's a very, very good achievement as well. We congratulate Thelma in her absence. She has apologized. She's on leave. And then, of course, I think everybody took note when Willie Davids achieved his designation. He was the first candidate to get there. So well done to all of those candidates. And perhaps in your small space, we could just, you know, applaud them. Perhaps you could use the emoji on the screen there. So congratulations, guys. It's a very, very good achievement. It's a milestone. You can proudly put the designation in your email signature behind your name. You are a true professional. You are a member of the professional body and you hold a professional designation. So well done, well done, well done. There are many others in the pipeline. The evaluations are happening as we speak. So we'd like to encourage you to go ahead and proceed. Some of you have received your first evaluation reports and you are in remediation. Don't be despondent, just forge ahead. You will do it, you can do it, and you will achieve it. So, and as you know, you have the support, you have my support, and let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. So on that note, then I would like us just to reflect on where we at in terms of the POE submissions. We're not going to look at status, who has, who hasn't submitted yet. The only thing we'd like to just check is there any worrying question or urgent question or something that's, that you'd like us just to address right now concerning the POE submissions, for those of you that have not yet made your submissions. Okay, Lauren, your hand is up.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now, after our last conversation in December, late December, or very, very early in January, I think I've submitted my portfolio. So yeah, and then
Okay.
I'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. So we obviously we look at each one individually, and as you know, then I engage with you individually, or if it's with the evaluators, then you'll hear from the evaluators. But yes, thank you for that, Lauren. We will take it up. I'll take it up with you as well. I'll also, go in and check where we are with your one. Okay, if there are no pressing questions then, and you all know that you can contact me individually. With some of you, we are work in progress, we're busy. With others, I'm still gonna do some follow-ups from our last conversations so that we can then take it from there. But we absolutely need to try and get everyone completed. Now, time is moving on. We've passed and missed deadlines. We've been, lenient with the extension, unspoken extensions, and the support continues. So, but we absolutely have to. I mean, this is now in terms of our contractual obligation to LG CETA. We absolutely need to try and have everyone submit by or finalized by no later than the 31st of March as an absolute final deadline. So it's important that you really get going with the submissions for those that haven't submitted yet, so that you can start receiving, your first feedback and have time to do whatever improvements and remediations and filling of gaps before that 31st of March date. You guys are very much aware that when you work within financial years or within contracts, there comes a certain compliance date beyond which you are now in trouble. You forfeit what you should have had, because there is no longer tolerance, because there's a certain date that's cast in stone and no one can then accommodate. So we really wouldn't like to see that kind of thing happening with any of the candidates. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to you then to just bear that in mind. And I'll also be contacting others who are not in the workshop here, obviously contacting on an ongoing basis. We have had the break of the holiday now, so that's also understandable, unfortunate but understandable. But we do need to get back into care. The other thing is, you guys will start getting busy now. It's WSP season coming up. You've got financial year that lies ahead, and other deadlines, and that kind of work-related pressure. So we really need to try and get a move on and complete this. Okay, so let's then proceed with the business of today. Where is my presentation now? Right, there we are. Okay, so just to make you aware that this picture that you're seeing now, we would like to acknowledge the DAL-E platform. The DAL-E platform is an artificial intelligence platform that created this picture specifically for us for this presentation. And on that note, I'd like to just make mention, some of you are probably already aware of the AI facility called the ChatGPT. And it is an absolutely brilliant tool, especially, across the board, but especially for ourselves as skills development professionals. It is brilliant. It's Google on steroids, if I can put it that way. Andy, I don't know whether that puts it into perspective. Google on steroids.
Yes. I think it's very important for anybody in the skills development area and profession. We need to understand what is happening in terms of artificial intelligence. At the moment, it's advancing in leaps and bounds, and it's going to have an enormous impact on learning, because things like ChatGPT and DAL-E, you can ask them to do things for you. You'll see later on, we in fact have developed or asked ChatGPT for a definition of what is the strategic role of a skills development professional. And we asked ChatGPT because we Googled it, we couldn't find one that looked good to us.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT produced this. The ChatGPT can also write an essay for you. Now, you think about that. If you're giving some sort of a test to learners and you give them an essay question and they ask an AI to answer it for them, how are you going to know? So there's a lot of change happening, and we need to be very aware of it as learning professionals, see what's happening and see how to work with it. So we included this definition from ChatGPT here because firstly, it's useful. And secondly, it's also, it's useful for all of us to start thinking about what are the capabilities of these artificial intelligences. Now, the one that we've used here is not an essay writer. It creates pictures for you. You can ask it to describe something for you. And that's what we did. And that's this picture. The DAL-E then created this picture for us. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Andy. So think about it, guys. You can ask chat GPT to please write me a concept on how I can improve the skills of people working in an engineering department. And it will write you a concept. You can ask it. I'm telling you, when I say Google on steroids, I'm not exaggerating. You can be as specific as you'd like to be, and it is going to write that thing. It's artificial intelligence that is rocking the world at the moment. So do yourself a favor. Now, this is part of remaining current as a professional. We are equipping you, we're empowering you. So every single aspect of these workshops is intended to improve the professionalism in skills development. Okay, so take note of that. The other thing I'd like to mention is later on, when we get to the end of this workshop, we're going to do a very short knowledge test. And the reason we're doing that is just to see that you are in the moment, you are engaged in the topics that we're covering, and you have taken in and absorbed what we're covering. So it's not like an exam. It's just a quick, very brief knowledge test, probably about just a few questions, and you'll answer them like like you do the poll on our screen. You'll see when we get there. So the point I'm making is, please be in the moment and be part of the topic, and also feel free to participate and make your inputs, ask your questions. You know that you can put something in the chat, or you can raise your hand and speak, or you could just unmute and say, excuse me, can I ask something? So we'd really like to encourage, especially that we're a small group. I see there are how many? 9? Are there 9 participants now? So we're a small group, and it's easy for that kind of engagement.
Still 7, Jonathan.
It's still 7. Oh, it's 9
plus
2 of
me.
Okay. All right. So now let's look at the importance of functioning at a strategic level. We have previously had discussion with yourselves where it became very obvious, and we understood from yourselves that the person who is in skills development, and let's take the skills development facilitator as an occupation, right? The reality is you are a professional. You're cutting across a number of functions, and as we will unpack in this workshop. But the one thing that you don't want is to function as a paper pusher, or a data capturer, or a data gatherer, or a person who completes templates and submits them. You receive information from people and you pass it on to someone else, or you go and attend workshops and you come back and that's your job. That's not the way you'd like to function, and that's not how you'd like to be perceived. You'd like to function in a strategic way. You'd like to play a meaningful role because you would like to be taken seriously as a skills development professional. So let's have a look at this. We'd like you to reflect on a few questions, right? So we're gonna do a bit of a survey now and ask you to complete it. And the real question we're looking at is, what is the current reality in your lived experience? Whether it's through your own preference of working the way you do, or whether it's being imposed on you to work the way you do currently. But let's just assess it. So you're going to rate it on a scale from 1 to 5. And there are 6 statements here where you've got to indicate if you completely disagree with the statement, you're going to give it a 1. And if you completely agree, then you're going to give it a 5. And then you can give it anything in between, okay? Between 1 to 5. So your learning and development plans are seen as very relevant by your managers and learners. And we're talking about currently, not what you would like it to be. At the moment, do your managers and learners take those plans seriously? Your WSP process is not shrugged off as a mere compliance requirement, but it is rather considered as a strategic input to the IDP and is essential for the achievement of the IDP objectives. Do you agree or not agree? Your inputs in the skills committee are taken seriously, and your recommendations are often adopted and supported. Now, if it so happens that you're not part of a skills committee, are your recommendations and inputs taken seriously by management? You know, so that's the essence of the third one. L&D, the L&D budget is usually the last to be cut in difficult times. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Then HoDs usually ask you for guidance and advice on how to address their departmental skills needs. Now, from my conversations with you, some of you, that is not the case. You are not asked for guidance and advice on how to address departmental skills needs by the HoDs in your municipality, but it might be the case with you. Okay, so, and then the last one is senior management normally asks for your inputs during discussions about improving the municipality's service delivery. Okay, so we're gonna, the survey is gonna appear on your screen now, and we're gonna ask you to please give those 6 questions a rating. Okay, go for it.
Just checking it's visible, Jonathan.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. So you give it from 1 to 5.
Sorry, Jonathan, can I just come through, please?
Sure, sure.
Just explain the one. The one, is it I agree, or 2, you know, the levels? Can you just explain from 1 to 5? I didn't get that.
Okay. If you don't agree with the statement, then you give it a 1. You give it a 1.
Okay.
Yeah. If you fully agree with the statement, you give it a 5.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure. Sure, Mbali. Okay, see the participation is coming in, submissions are coming in.
Now, we've lost 3 people all of a sudden.
Have we lost 3? Oh no.
Yeah, I wonder if they were working now, and people might be working on their phones, or they might have other difficulties. So let's see what happens.
So we've only got 3 people at the moment.
I'm not sure.
Sure.
The list says
But I
7
can
at
see.
the moment. We had 8 people. Now it's down to 7. And we've got 3 other 7 who've responded. Let's give it a minute longer. Might be
Yeah, let's just give it
challenges.
another minute or so.
People are coming back in. It's quite likely that the connectivity problems that we all have, me included. So if I disappear, my apologies. It's not nothing to do with you guys. It's to do with my service provider. Okay, people are back to 7. Still looking for some more responses.
Yeah, we're just waiting. Maybe they might have had to log back in, and now they're going to do the survey.
Yes, that's possible.
3 answered. 3.
And more responses come in, that's good.
Good. Yeah, there's more coming in.
That's 5 responses, that's great.
Okay, that's not bad.
There's 6. Maybe we'll get one more, the last response.
So it looks like there are 6 people doing the survey at the moment, eh?
Yeah. Give just the last person just a little bit longer, just in case they're finishing up. Person who hasn't been able to answer yet, do you want some more time, or do you want us to move on?
Six.
Jonathan, do you want to move on, or what would you like
Right,
to do?
I think
Shall I end the poll? Shall I end it?
Let's do just 30 seconds in case the person is busy. 30 seconds. Okay, I think we could end it now.
And are the results up?
The results is up, yes, it's up.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
So do you want to talk through each, and then I will move down as needed?
Okay, now let me see. Right, so what we've got here, let me see. we've got question 1. Okay, so with question 1, one person gave it a 1. Let's see. Yeah, there's quite a spread, eh? So there's sort of mixed. One person gave it a 1,
See,
one gave it a 2,
yeah,
2 gave it a 3, 1 gave it a 4, 2 gave it a 5. So there's a sort of a spread.
Yeah, you know, ideally everybody's saying yes. People do see the plans as relevant. Everybody's on a 5.
We
But
would like,
it's
yeah,
great that
we
some
would like to
people
see
are,
5.
but you know, fully what more than half the people are saying actually no, they're not readily accepted by managers. Mm.
In fact, if you look at question 3 has got the most number of people who say yes, my inputs in the skills committee are taken seriously. It's 4 people. But if you look at the next one, question 4, there are 4 people. So the majority of people are saying the L&D budget is not the last to be cut in difficult times. And we know that this was something that was expressed previously as well. But the rest of the questions, it does not seem to be a strong yes. I am viewed as strategic. I am taken seriously. The survey seems to support the notion that generally across the municipalities, I am not seen as relevant. I'm not seen as strategic. My WSP is shrugged off as a mere compliance requirement. You know, that seems to be the message that's coming through. Budget is the first to be cut in difficult times. And
if I can comment on that from a general point of view, you know, I don't think we must feel bad that not everybody is seeing themselves being effective in a strategic role. That's not unusual for people in our professional area. The point is, if you want to be seen and influential at a strategic level, it requires work. And so the deal with this workshop is to help you think about what is the work that you can put in that will help you become more strategic. It's not a role that you're given, it's a role that you earn. Sorry, Jonathan, back to you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's then proceed. You can close the results there, Andy. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to get back to my presentation. Okay, so now what do we mean? What do we mean when we talk about the strategic role? So we've already informed you guys about ChatGPT, right? The AI platform that we asked to give us. So what we define here is based on what ChatGPT has given us, right? But I mean, we've given it very careful thought. We've adapted it to the municipal environment. We've done our own strategic thinking in that regard. And it's also based on our prior engagements with yourselves, our experiences, my experiences of working with municipal SDFs over the years. And we brought all of that in just to say, when we apply what ChatGPT has given us to the municipal space and the skills development in particular, how do we define or describe the strategic role of a skills development professional? So in summary, your role as a professional in the municipality, skills development professional, is primarily to ensure that the officials have the necessary skills to meet the current and future needs of the municipality. So if you think about the reason why the municipality exists, at the core of that existence is the delivery of services to communities. So Your primary role is to ensure that there are the skills that are necessary to achieve that, right? And we've seen many an AG report talking about the skills deficit, competencies, the other things of, you know, unethical and corruption. Those are something else. But our focus is on the fact that a skills deficiency does contribute enormously to the service delivery protests that we see. And the skills are also accompanied by behavior and conduct. And as a skills development professional, it's not only the technical skill that the person needs to be able to do the job, but it's also their behavior and their attitude towards their work that the skills development professional is meant to improve. Because I mean, with the technical skill and the wrong attitude, the job is simply not going to happen, right? So that's overall the role, your role as a professional in the municipality. Now, here is a summary of the ChatGPT definition. We're going to give you a copy of this presentation. So we're not going to spend time reading this, but we just put it in a snapshot for you to have when you get the copy of this presentation. But we will now unpack each of these points in the following slides, right? So the first element of this strategic role is that of assessing organizational skills needs. We know that you guys are already involved in some or other form of skills audit. We know of the Gap Skills project of COCTA that you guys are very much a part of. But I mean, we're aware that you also do your own skills gaps audits or training needs analyses in the municipality to be able to identify what are the gaps. So what happens? You need to know what skills are currently needed, but you also as a professional need to be able to forecast and see what skills are going to be needed in the next 2 to 3 years. What skills are going to be needed here in the next 5 years, right? So how do you predict those skills that will be needed if you are not paying attention to and participating in the IDP processes? Because the IDP is where the strategy is developed and the deliverables for the foreseeable future, for the next year, for the next 2 years, and so on. You need to be plugged in there so that you can forecast if that is what the municipality aims to achieve during that period into the future, what skills will be needed. So that is a very, very critical component of the professional's role, because anything that you do that is not addressing the skills needs is misplaced. You're missing the mark, you know. So you would really not like to operate as a professional who enhances the skills for the sake of. So you register, listen, who else has not been on training yet this year? Okay, let's send so-and-so, let's send so-and-so. Someone comes to you as a skills development professional in the municipality and says, look, we've got a budget of 50,000 Rand, we need to spend it. What can we do? You know, so any, mini, miny, mo, okay, let's do this one. That's not how a professional should function. Okay, very critical, the skills needs identification. Then you need to develop those solutions to address those skills needs, and you need to implement them. Now you've seen in the designation portfolio, some of those competencies for which you need to give evidence that you've been doing this are related to the second component, the development and the implementation of skills development strategies, which is the solutions and the interventions to be able to deliver on the strategy, all right? So we're talking on-the-job training, classroom-based training, mentoring and coaching, all the different types of training interventions, as we refer to them. So your learnerships and skills programs and your internships and, you know, in the municipality, we talk MFMP and minimum competency compliance and all of those things. So it is your function to develop and implement those solutions. The other thing is you predominantly are in the space where you identify solutions that already exist with training providers, you know, private, public institutions and so on. So you predominantly identify those and then you register people, but you as a professional should also, you know, be involved in developing some of the solutions. If you think about, for example, new people coming into the municipality, and they're going to need to be given coaching, on-the-job coaching on how to perform the task. So the skills development professional identifies the expert, internal or external, and you know, sort of comes up with a model for those coaches to be able to spend time coaching, reporting, and making sure that people are adequately equipped to do the job properly. Okay, and don't lose sight of the e-learning side of things. I mean, we all know here we are using an online platform for our workshop, and we're doing that all the time. Our mentorship sessions are online. So in your role as a professional, you've got to be looking at those e-learning solutions, those online solutions for your for the delivery of your training interventions. Okay. The third component is that of evaluating success. Now, you cannot possibly be delivering programs year after year, and you are not stepping back and reflecting on what you have achieved. Is it getting us to where we need to go? Where do we need to change next year? Where do we need to improve? Where did we go wrong? Where did we go right? And all of that kind of reflection through the monitoring of the performance, the gathering of what do you call it? Progress, information on progress. You are managing training providers all the time. You need to be able to gather, to be gathering those progress reports, status reports with the challenges that are experienced, the successes achieved, gathering evaluation from your officials who attend, and so on and so on. So that is central to the role of the strategic role of a skills development professional. You need to be able to see a direct link between the performance and the conduct of an official and the impact that training is having on that. So now you are starting to operate strategically. So you're having conversations with the HoD, you are informed, there's a dotted line between yourself and the performance appraisal processes in the different departments. You understand? When you start looking at your WSP to see where people, which people are going to be trained in the foreseeable financial year, you cannot be doing that in isolation of how people have been conducting themselves and how people have been performing, so that the training that you are going to include in your strategy is going to address those conduct and performance related challenges, so that you can then evaluate the impact that training has had on that conduct and that performance. So we don't function in an organization to facilitate skills development and do all of the activities that we do simply in isolation of what's happening with the officials that we are empowering. Okay, so you'll see, you would have noted during our mentorship sessions, those that are doing the practitioner, the one competency that talks about participating in the career development of someone. Now, you know, all of those things require you to be plugged into the appraisal of the person's conduct and performance, so that you know what you are doing is going to add value to this person's conduct and performance, and you evaluate and you have those feedback sessions with the HoD, you know, so that there's also an appreciation by the HoDs for the value that you're adding to the functioning of their departments, right? Now, having done that, you'll realize that this means that your training that you are facilitating is not only to give people certificates. It's not only about the credits. It can never be only about the credits. So you've got to look beyond the certificate is evidence that someone has done the program and they've completed. The certificate, as you know, has got nothing to do with the person's conduct, and it has got nothing to do with the person's performance on the job. We know that, right? So the certificate is evidence that they have diligently attended, completed a program, and met the requirements of that program, right? So they've been empowered with theoretical knowledge. They've been empowered with, you know, knowledge of how to apply that knowledge. They're aware of how to apply it. But your purpose is way beyond the certificate, way beyond. So the certificates are necessary evidence, but they are not central to the reason why you exist as a skills development professional in the municipality. Right. Now, very importantly, there needs to be a clear line of sight for you between the training that you do and the service delivery situation in your community. Are people burning down buildings in your community? How is the training improving people's performance and reducing the service delivery protests? Can you see that sight of line as a strategic operator called the skills development professional in the municipality? You need to be causing that improvement to service delivery. Now, just link that last statement on the screen. Link it to your credibility. Link it to how seriously people view you in the municipality. Okay, and just on that note, just that note on its own, Andy, I'd just like to pause and hear any comments or inputs on what I've just covered now, just for a moment. So you can unmute and speak, or just type something in the chat. Let's hear you. What is your comment?
Hi, Jonathan. I think if we can just go back to the first slide, I think just to, yeah, the first one, we talk about the assessing the organizational skills needs.
Assessing the organizational skills needs.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes. Okay. So, but yeah, it's actually 1, 2, and 3. But I'm just want to just give some my input here. You know what? Currently, we are busy with you know with the workplace skills plan. We are busy with the gap skills from Kochte. We are busy implementing your municipal staff regulations where your competencies are concerned. And I find, and I actually want to put in performance here as well. So now I find that we know that skills development is not just, say, for instance, it's a Lawrence job, right? There's a lot of emphasis, I feel, that comes from the MSR. It's a lot of emphasis that's put on managers and supervisors. For them also to be accountable or responsible for skills development, because they have their subordinates, and they also need to at least, you know, identify any skills for the department, especially your technical side. Say for instance, as an SDF, you won't know all the the skills needs in the municipality as such. So we are also very reliant in on that information to come through, whether it is from managers and the SUPs. Now, that is not happening, right? I find that the managers or they themselves, if say for instance you're a manager of finance, you will exactly know, okay, these are my staff, and in each unit, this is for us to be proactive, and this is what we need. You think of your succession planning, you think of what the skills the skills needs in that department should somebody leave the organization, you know, all that type of thing. Now, those are not the things that come out. Say, for instance, with it, I've checked now, say, for instance, my training needs that came through. They don't know what the skills gaps are. And my thing is, now it comes to performance. If you don't know what, for you as a manager, what you foresee for your department in terms of competencies and skills, how are you going to evaluate the person's performance? You know, with a performance, the KPIs, for instance, and even your KPIs, I find that employees literally, they come to my office. So now I will transfer the knowledge that I have. I will transfer just for them to at least understand the process. Why do Lawrence send out a training needs form to complete? Where does it fit into the whole, where does it fit into the whole skills development landscape? And so that, you know, I literally, you know, have these conversations with him apart from your consultations, when you have consultations with management. So now then I saw, but the employees, and then it becomes a desktop exercise, unfortunately, with regards to performance. They don't even know what is my KPIs, what is my competencies. What I've done is, I mean, we've had the MSR and the competency framework. You know, we've explained it because, I mean, obviously as HR, we had to drive the process. Now, with the training needs, what I've done this year, I've put the competency framework also there for managers to really tap into the subordinates role in the department, to check also then what is the competencies that's needed for you to be in that post, and then it would be most now very easy then to identify any gaps. But now, exactly, so that whatever gaps come through, that they actually also they know what type of intervention can best close the gap. But now that is not happening, you know. So say for instance, as an SDF, you then obviously now you will know mostly what interventions will this person lead. And but for me is I want managers to know what interventions, more or less. They don't have to know the exact program, but at least, you know, something from them, so that when you put all that information in the WSP, that you really know, you know what, this WSP is really a true reflection of the needs of the organization. So it's just, yeah, it's just something that I've actually picked up now, because they don't look at the competencies. Yeah. So if you as a manager don't know the competencies, that it becomes, it's frustrating, man. You know, I'm like, every time I get a form and I'm actually reading through it, and then I'm like, yeah, the manager didn't even sign it, or he sent it to me like he don't sign it. So how? Because that would mean that you haven't sit with your subordinates to discuss your needs, number one. Number two, that you haven't discussed even the competencies of that employee. So how will they act? Shame, how will the employee know what the gaps are if they don't know, you know, the competencies? Just something along that line. So that was just something that I've picked up, which is a bit frustrating, but from myself and my colleague, we decide now what we're going to do is we're going to, say for instance, early Feb, just go to the stores, the municipal stores in each town, and just to have a nice chat with them, how everything fit into, because we do have inductions where especially the skills development part, I literally talk about it. But I mean, if you were here for 10 years already, you've long forgotten and everything has changed anyway. So I think for me personally, I just think that managers and supervisors really need to tap into the skills development also as part of their job. And I somehow want to throw in coaching and mentoring there as well.
You know,
thank you.
Let me ask this, because you probably triggered thoughts in others' minds as well, Lauren. Thank you for that. Let me ask, just generally, not only yourself, are you at liberty to invite HoDs to a meeting where you can discuss your strategy, your action plan to support them in the identification of skills gaps and in the addressing of those skills gaps? Are you at liberty to do that, to send out an email and organize a meeting with the HoDs? You know, this is because what you describe, what you are saying, what I'm reading into it is you would like to, and you are trying to function strategically, but you're not getting the full cooperation from the HoDs, is what I'm picking up. And you have some concerns because you sort of feel at a loss. So I'm asking the question, are you at liberty? Are you authorized? Can you take it upon yourself to organize a meeting and have the discussions and present a recommended way forward to the HoDs? Anyone can respond.
You know, Jonathan, from my side, yes, I can do that. So like literally now at our the portfolio committee, where HR also, the finance and IT committee, I've actually done a presentation. So just it's a nice presentation just to explain to them, you know, the skills development landscape. What is a mandatory grant? Because, you know, they just says, why don't the unemployed get money? And, you know, all that. So I've made a presentation. So at the portfolio committee, I told my manager, I would actually want to go there and just present to them this so that they can also understand how things work, because I get a feel that they don't, you know, especially your operational managers, they don't worry about, they just worry about they need to deliver services. So I'm going to do that presentation there. I'm also planning to use the exact presentation at the training committee, although they mostly know, but I mean, I'm going to do that as well, together with the evaluation that was done on the WSP, so that I think that can also assist them to understand why, say for instance, we will say you have to do AET because this and this and this, and put succession planning in the mix. So, but from my side, yes, we are at liberty. We can do that.
Okay. Because I think that's the pathway, and then followed by the one-on-ones that you have then with HoDs, so that you can then be specific to what's happening in their own department, and their own involvement in doing those skills assessments that you say they don't necessarily do all the time. Anyone else with some thought here before we move on? Okay. So, having looked at that line of thinking, right? The link between your role and the organization, and and the service delivery as the ultimate. There is then the need for you to think about the accuracy and reliability of data. There are many decisions that need to be made within the municipality that rely on data. There are reports that need to be submitted, right, to senior management, to council, and so on. Remember, the quality and the accuracy and the relevance of those reports will determine whether you are supported in some of the decisions that you need whether it's about funding, you know, or you need a certain strategy that you'd like to embark on, an action plan to be approved. So when you support such communication and requests with reliable and accurate and credible data, real data that you've gathered, you then put yourself in a position of power. You're also improving your own credibility as a person who presents things that are supported by facts, by real facts, okay? And so as a skills development professional, it's very important that you have an up-to-date record of all the skills development, the skills and the knowledge, you know, within your municipality. So if you have a dotted line to those HoDs and you have those regular conversations with them, ongoing conversations with them, your records of all of those things, the conversation that you have with them, the weaknesses identified, the solutions that have been agreed upon, the performance information, the monitoring progress, and also recording the link between training and improved performance, improved behavior, improved service delivery. If you have reliable and accurate data that you can present in various forums, you are actually now presenting yourself as a true professional. And you'll find that you will have so much more confidence in the work that you do, because you can put both feet on the ground and defend anything that you present, because you know that it is underpinned by accurate and reliable data that no one can argue against. So that's how a true professional you know, operates. And that we are saying, based on the definition from ChatGPT, that forms a very critical component of the strategic role of a skills development professional. You know the old adage that the job is not done until the paperwork is done. And the paperwork can make or break you. Now the paperwork symbolizing records, right? So, and it is the most damaging thing ever if you present inaccurate data that someone points out and says, no, but you're wrong. It's not like that. Immediately, your credibility is questionable. Very critical. Okay. So in summary, guys, we are talking about you becoming a key strategic partner in the municipality. In the corporate world, when I worked for Deloitte, I think I've mentioned this to you before, that most of the professionals at Deloitte are consultants, right? Fixed term contracts. You are considered to be a partner to the firm. And being a partner, you bring a specific, very clear and visible value that makes a difference to what the organization is about. That's how you would like to be. And that's how you'd like to be viewed. You'd like to be viewed as a strategic partner who is enabling the organization to meet its strategic objectives. So as a skills development a professional, you have a very, very big influence in how people view you, in your credibility. Those of you who attended the professional conduct workshop will remember that, you know, we were on about your credibility and how seriously people take you as a professional, right? So the professional is to become a key strategic partner in the municipality, working to ensure that the workforce has the skills and knowledge necessary to meet the current and future needs of the municipality. That's it. if somebody from Salga thinks about you, they must be thinking about a high-powered skills development professional who is a strategic partner in that municipality and causes these things, right? Causes the skills needs to be met for the municipality.
Jonathan,
So, yep, Andy.
just wondering before moving on, do you want to take a comfort break? We've been going for an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Eh? I think that's a very good idea.
When
Let's
do you
do
want
that.
people back?
Let's do that. It is now, what is it now? 20 past 11. Can we do a 15-minute break? Okay, so 20 past 11. Can we restart
12.
25 to 12?
I see we're getting support for the idea.
Okay, leg stretch, coffee break, back at 25 to 12. Thank you, guys. Okay, I hope you've all had a nice leg stretch. Probably still sipping on your coffee. I believe it takes 7 minutes to smoke a cigarette. I'll have some more water.
Jonathan,
Yes, Mbali.
this session seems very interesting. Can I please have a recording after the meeting?
Yes, we definitely make the recording available.
Thank you.
Sure, Mbali. We'll also share the presentation in the group. So we'll put a link to the recording as well as a copy of the presentation. Okay, folks, it is 25:02. Let's continue. I hope everyone is back. Okay. Just as a matter of side thingy, with the load shedding, you have certain limitations. So I don't have the benefit of my second screen in this session, but that's fine. Okay, so we continue. Just based on the conversation we had earlier, let's look at the strategic role and from a different perspective, you know, and continue the thinking about how it should be working. And I'm sure that as we move, you are reflecting on how you work currently. You are reflecting on how strategic or unstrategic you currently are. You are seeing the gaps and areas where you could actually, make some changes so that you can become more strategic. But we'll get to the point where we're going to talk about your action plan to become more strategic in your functioning. So you have your organizational strategy. In your case, we refer to the IDP, right, as the municipality's strategic plan. And in the IDP, you have the section that deals with the skills development objectives and targets. Now, when you look at those objectives, they, as I said earlier, they need to be achieved through the performance of people, and those people need the skills and the competence to be able to deliver on those objectives. So we just taking one example on the slide. Let's say you wanted to reduce the turnaround time for processing a refund to a client, right? If that, let's say that's an objective and it sits in the IDP. Now, where does the skills development professional play a role in this? So you're going to find that the IDP objectives are to be actioned by the business units, the various departments. They've each got a piece of the pie that they need to put on the table for the achievement of the bigger strategy. So the business unit, in this case of reducing a turnaround time for processing a refund, they'll do certain things like upgrading the financial software or the program that they use, or whatever the system is. They're going to say, okay, look, one of the things that we can do is let's upgrade that system. Let's upgrade that system, and let's try and make sure that we simplify the processes that the client must go through, the approval processes, the forms to be completed, and so on. Let's simplify that. Let's streamline it. Let's bring in a new system, and we should be able to reduce this turnaround time. Now, there are then activities that need to take place. So they'll purchase this software. They will implement it. They'll work obviously with the supplier of that system, and they'll make sure that it is purchased, secured, delivered, and installed and implemented. Right now, then they've got to do a process of mapping the revised, the simplified process flow for the application for a refund. So the mapping exercise needs to happen, and the manual, the procedure manual, or the standard operating procedure needs to be updated. Now, guess what? There are people that need to do these things. There are people that need to implement the software. And this is now exactly where the professional comes in. Because the professional then has to come in with learning activities, skills development initiatives. So immediately, this goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that as a skills development professional, your eye is on the objectives of the IDP and the role that you can play in the achievement of those objectives. So the operators of the software need to be trained, right? Sometimes you'll find that the supplier does the training, but to a large extent, there's training that needs to happen in the workplace, right? And you are the skills development professional, by the way. So logically, that falls within your area of responsibility. Okay, so these people need to be trained, and then there needs to be workshops held to brief the operators. So the skills development professional is playing their part in achieving an objective of the SDP, sorry, of the IDP. You're playing a part in achieving that objective by supporting the business units. And in that way, you immediately see that there is a direct line of sight between the work that you do and the organizational strategy. So if you were to unpack this across the various objectives of the IDP, you are actually now crafting the skills development and training strategy, which supports the integrated development plan of the municipality.
Jonathan,
and by so doing, imagine you improve the turnaround time for refunds. You are improving service delivery to the community.
Jonathan,
Andy, were you coming in there?
Can I make some comments?
Yep.
You know, there are two things that strike me that is useful for us as ST professionals in looking at this, this diagram. The first thing is that whatever learning activities we are supporting, we should only be supporting them if we can see that line of sight between the learning activity and something that is actually relevant in the organization strategy and in the IDP. So that's the one thing. We must be able to see a line of sight. And we need to be ensuring that we focus on things that we can see there's that line of sight, and it will make a difference at the on the IDP. And the second one is that if we are trying to become more strategic, we need to make it very obvious that we know and we see that line of sight, and we talk about the line of sight to line management, to the HoDs, to all of those people. So our conversation is, you know, if you want some learning activities to take place, where does it impact on the IDP? Where does it fit in? Because you're not just going to do it. You're not just going to be an order taker, go to the manager and say, well, what do you want to do? I've got a checklist of things. You rather be wanting to have the conversation about where does this fit in with your business unit objectives? Where does it fit in with your operational activities? Okay, and how can we support you with learning so that you can meet your targets? That's the conversation that you want to have if you're going to come across as strategic. Thanks, Jonathan.
Now, yes, thank you, Andy. And with that, it then stands to reason that you actually need to take charge of skills. Skills development is your space, and you need to take charge of it. Which means, though you're working with HoDs who may be, in terms of the organizational structure and protocols, at a higher level than yourself in the organogram, but you need to engage with them with a certain measure of authority over the role, the strategic role that you play in supporting them. And therefore, not only do you sit in your office and wait for them to come to you to ask for things, you proactively go to them and I'm not going to use the word impose, but you recommend to them that based on that IDP, I recommend that we go this route. And the HOD says to you, no, 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 I want that. Then you bring the argument that Andy is bringing to say, I don't see a link between what you are suggesting and the objective of the IDP. Can you show it to me? Because we certainly need to be working towards our organizational strategy. You know, obviously, this is much easier said than done. And I can almost hear your thoughts there, Mbali. You know, because you're going to have the HODs that's going to say to you, who the hell do you think I am? Or who do you think you are to come and talk to me? I am telling you what you will do, you know. So I can almost see that playing itself out. But the reality is there is no manager who can argue with you against the integrated development plan. Hence, with you having credible and accurate data and having your conversations backed by such data, it's going to be very difficult for you know, someone not to work with you when you are working in the best interests of achieving the IDP. So can you see that there is a very, very strategic role that you are playing now? This is seriously strategic, okay? And you are, by the way, supported by the MSR, which Lauren, you were making reference to earlier. I mean, chapter 5 unpacks your strategic role brilliantly in this in the municipal staff regulations, right? We also picked up in the guideline for the implementation of the regulations. There is a clause there, and we've made reference to it. We've even got a snapshot. There's a clause there that says it talks about developing the capacity of staff members or teams to perform optimally. I mean, this encapsulates the strategic function that you are responsible for. And so you've got the regulations to support you. And the regulations are saying that skills planning must be included in the IDP, right? So I'm saying to you guys, an HOD is going to have difficulty arguing with you and refusing to support you and work with you if you do your homework properly and you're coming to them with credible facts that cannot be argued, right? The skills needs have been identified. Here is the factual information. The IDP objective is this. It's been approved by council, and our role is to make sure that we achieve it. We will not achieve it with the current skills in your department, because here are the gaps, here are the facts, because we've done the skills audit, and these are the gaps that we found. Now, how can you be telling us to be training people on these skills which have got nothing to do with the gap that you currently have and with the achievement of the IDP? You know, if your conversation is of that nature, that's what I'm saying. You are speaking to someone in a higher position, but you're speaking with a measure of authority because you're taking charge of your role. In fact, you have an obligation to fulfill that role. It's not a nice to have. And so I would urge you to familiarize yourself with the staff regulations. You know, familiarize yourself with it, go through it, and see how do you use the staff regulations to actually strengthen your arguments when you are, you know, seeking support as a professional wanting to achieve these things. Let's just do a quick dipstick. Have all of you read? Do you understand? Do you know what the municipal staff regulations are saying? Now, Lauren, you've already made reference to it. So clearly you are engaging those regulations. But for the others,
Sorry,
can you-
Jonathan, to interject. I
Sure.
am, it's still a very, because it was not quite a thick document, but I really, this is my source document that I go to, and if ever somebody don't, say for instance, a manager or forgets, then I literally go back to my guidelines, and then I also make reference to our training and development, our policy and our processes. So, but it's still, there's such a lot of information. You literally, every time you read it, you learn something new.
Oh boy, have we lost Lauren?
I think she finished saying what she wanted to say.
Ah, okay.
I
Thank you,
did,
Lauren.
yes.
Thank you for that. Now, guys, do yourself a favor, go to chapter 5. Go to chapter 5 of the staff regulations. The entire regulation is a very big document, very big. But go to chapter 5. Chapter 5 deals with skills development. And give yourself time to really familiarize yourself. I'm telling you.
Is it chapter 5 or chapter 3?
It's chapter 5. The section that we're quoting here in the little screenshot, Andy, on the screen, that is part of the guidelines section.
Okay.
So chapter 3 of the guidelines give you the point that we've highlighted here. But earlier on in the same Gazette, that Gazette number 45181, it is a huge document of probably almost 2,000 pages. You can see in the screenshot that what we're quoting here from the guidelines section is on page 492. So it's a very big document. But if you go specifically and you scroll, you go earlier in that same document, you go to the guidelines, to the regulations themselves, and you go to chapter 5 of the regulations. That's the section that deals with skills development and what a municipality is obligated to do according to the regulations. It's not, that part is an easy read. You know, that one's much quicker. So if your focus is on that chapter 5, then you need to familiarize yourself. I think as a skills development professional in the municipality, there's no way that you should be functioning without knowing what chapter 5 says. And then further on in that same Gazette, there's a guideline provided on how the entire regulations are to be implemented. And then, of course, there's this section that deals, it deals with inductions, and it deals with staff retentions, as you guys know, those that have read it. So you'll see there's a section in the guideline part that deals with the skills development component as well. So you've got enough information there. And what I'm saying to you is this: you can either view legislation as an impediment, or you can view it as an enabler. And you have got a powerhouse of authority in the regulations to do what we've been describing here in terms of the strategic role of the skills development professional in a municipality. I am repeating, it is not a nice to have. The regulations, as you know, are law. And you can be held. I mean, if somebody were to come and the skills development function falls flat, and the AG finds that there are no skills being developed in the municipality, you know, the behavior, the conduct, the attitude not being addressed by the municipality, the regulations impose this role on the skills development unit of the municipality. The skills development facilitator is mentioned by name. That title is mentioned specifically. You guys that have read it will know. It says what the skills development facilitator shall do. That's law. That's not nice to have. It talks about the MM. And so do yourself a favor, go and read chapter 5. Go and read chapter 5. I have it on my computer, yeah, but there's no point in opening it. We can't read it together now. You need to take your time, find Gazette number 45181. It's dated 20th of September 2021. So, and it includes the regulations and it includes a guideline. And it's a very, very, very good a tool to use. In fact, it's an important piece of legislation that you should familiarize yourself with. Okay, now look at the central nature of your function, of your role as a skills development professional. You have a very serious role of achieving the objectives of the IDP, right? You have a responsibility of equipping your colleagues, staff and management to be able to do the work so that all the objectives of the municipality's IDP can be achieved. So your specific responsibility is to empower them to do the work. So when the AG comes back saying, this has not been done, that has not been done, and the reason is they don't have the skills, that statement is directly linked to where you sit as the skills development professional. So you want to hear the opposite kind of report from the AG. The competence is there. The capacity is there. The conduct and the attitude is being addressed through various interventions which are visible, and there is adequate data to prove all the initiatives that have been implemented and delivered to the officials to be able to do their work. So the problem identified by the AG is then pointed at something else, some other impediment, not the role that the skills development professional is supposed to do, play. So that's where you'd like to work towards. And I mean, if you look at this diagram, we've just tried to depict for you to see where do you sit in relation to all of these other components. The IDP, we've mentioned that thoroughly this morning. The funding options, your role in those funding options, which you obviously play already because you're the one who goes and raises funding from Treasury, the FMG grant, and the discretionary grants, mandatory grants, pivotal grants, and stuff like that. So you are playing that role, but just looking at your strategic role, how much stronger can your influence be in those funding opportunities if you were to embrace some of these elements of skills, of the skills development professionals role that we are talking about, right? The regulatory framework, you forever have to work within the, those, and I mean, we've just spoken about the regulations right now and other legislation. Of course, the regulations form a part of the Municipal Systems Act, right? So the broader Municipal Systems Act and things like the MFMA, right? And so on, and various other pieces of legislation. And then, of course, the needs, the needs and expectations of the learners. I mean, just from the conversations that we've had up to now, those are exactly the things that you are busy addressing as a skills development professional. And then the requirements of the HoDs. So you sit right in the center, at the core of this organization, at the core. So can we ask whether the role of a skills development professional is strategic or not? It's actually a redundant question, because just by looking at this picture alone, there's a strategic function immediately. And of course, as the person in the center, you also, the link between the HoD and the funding opportunities, the link between the learner's expectations and the HoD requirements, you know, and crisscrossing this whole picture that you see here, the link between the funding options and the IDP, and so on. So it's a very, very, very central role, and thus we insist it is a strategic role, and as defined in the previous slides. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is we'd like your inputs here, right? What does the skills development professional currently do in the municipality? Having covered what we consider that strategic role to be, what do you guys currently do now? I'm going to need to get out of my presentation mode. Sharing has stopped, okay. And then I'm going to share this view so that I can capture your inputs. Okay, Andy, is it sharing my screen?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, let me just minimize this. Right. Minimize that. Okay, so let's hear you. What role do you currently play in the municipality? As you give inputs, I'm gonna just capture them on the strategic or non-strategic side. So what do you currently do on a daily basis? Now you can speak, unmute and speak, or type in the chat. Let's hear. We've got a very good idea, but let's hear it from yourselves. You prepare the WSP, don't you?
Jonathan, I think, say for instance, currently doing with regards to strategic, I think we do a lot of influencing decision making, I think.
Influencing decision making. Okay, so how do you do that?
Say for instance, especially if your managers or even supervisors, you know, say for instance, when they're not always aware of your skills development processes. So what you do is you influence them for decisions for the decision making higher up in the ranks.
Okay, now what I'm actually after is that you become a bit specific. What does that mean? How do you do that influencing?
If I can just make an example, say for instance, the sector has certain gaps, or say for instance priority areas. Yeah, let me rather make this example. There's priority areas, say for instance in the CETAs, they're prioritizing water. Yeah? So managers might not know that. So then you would influence so that they are able to make the correct decisions, because remember, with the water, you have to also comply to the water board. Your process controllers must be at certain levels. So you are actually influencing the decision making of managers, if that makes sense.
This thing is jumping. You inform the HoDs of priority areas.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's put the word influence, inform. Okay. Right. Okay, what else? I think this is a bit small, eh? Something like that. Okay.
I've written my comments, Jonathan, on the chat.
Let's see. On the chat, Bali says, currently responsible for preparing a credible WSP skills audit. Okay. WSP, right? Skills audit and gap analysis. Okay. Gap analysis. Right. In terms of skills required, that would be needed in order to be able to achieve the municipal goals as per the IDP. Okay. Link to goals, IDP goals. Okay. Right. Thank you, Mbali. Now, Mbali, just on that note, are you saying that when you do this audit, the skills gap or skills audit, does the conversation include the goals of the IDP in identifying when those gaps are identified? Are you saying currently already that is happening?
Yes, Jonathan, it does. Like, for example, we've had a case whereby there are lots of houses where you'd get blockage because the stormwater, in actual fact, we've had a challenge with our stormwater when Upangolo municipality or Upangolo as a whole, we experience rain or anything, then people will be complaining about floods, will be complaining about water, sorry, on their yards. Then it means our stormwater team needs then to be trained, because that is part of the services that the municipality would need to roll out. Okay. So we sat with the Department of Technical Services. Then we identified that if we can train those people, it's the same employees that can assist with the stormwater drainage if they are trained properly. Amongst other things, we've also had some of the staff that haven't been trained on plumbing. So it then meant the municipality would need to appoint a service provider who will do the plumbing in one of our municipal offices. Whereas if you can train the employees on such skills, then you would minimize cost. And then, I mean, it's another way of achieving the goals of the municipality. Well, that's my take.
So, and do you have an IDP goal that talks to addressing that stormwater problem?
Yes, yes,
okay.
We do under technical services. I think it's infrastructure. I can't really recall the objective, but it's something that relates to municipal servicing the municipal houses.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So there's a clear line of sight between the skills development, the strategic role that you play there, and the achievement of the IDP goals. Brilliant. Okay. Lauren agrees. Lekker. Okay, anyone else? So there are many things that you guys do. You're rather quiet. I know some of you do EE submissions and a whole lot of other things, right? Implementation of learnerships. Let's have a flow of some inputs here. Unless you're saying you're not sure what you do currently. Okay, I'm not sure. Do we have, maybe we have an audio problem then. Peril, I see you are logged in. Tell us, what do you do? You there, Peril? Nothing. What about Reshma? Are you there? Nope. Princess, Zintle. Okay, so what I'd like to suggest then, because the inputs are not coming in. Gladys, I see your hand. Let's hear.
Yes, Jonathan. I was trying to write on the chat, but I didn't see the submit button. What I've written here is this. I apply for discretionary grants to sitters and ensure that the awarded projects are implemented within the organization.
Okay.
And therefore, I also prepare for the induction of learnership if we've been awarded learnerships, and also monitor the progress and report to management.
Hold on, sorry. Just after you say you apply for discretionary grants, and then the other thing.
Yes, I apply. If we've been awarded, then I ensure that the projects are implemented within the organization with yes, and also prepare the induction for those projects.
Okay.
Prepare the inductions.
Yes.
And also monitor the progress, and then give the report to management.
Okay. Let's say monitor progress.
The progress of the implementation. Okay.
And report to management. Okay.
Yes, this is what I've just written.
Thank you, Gladys. Okay, that helps. Right, let's see. Zintle says I have a speaker problem. Okay, oops, sorry, Zintle. Right, so now I'm not seeing any other inputs. But surely I know that there are many other things. Which ones of you do the employment equity report?
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, who's there?
It's me.
Okay, me.
It's Reshma. I do the employment equity reporting.
Reshma. How could I? No, okay, go for it, Reshma.
Just that I'm driving to Pretoria. You won't be able to hear me properly.
Oh, shame, man, shame.
We actually meet with our stakeholders when we're submitting the employment equity. I gather all the information and I ensure that the report is submitted before the 15th of January every year.
What report is that?
The employment equity.
Oh. Employment equity report. Okay. Okay. And then the submission, of course.
Yes, and ensuring that all stakeholders do sign the report before I submit for compliance reasons.
Sure, sure. Oh, Andy?
Sorry, load shedding kicked in.
Yeah, I have a problem. Yeah, my battery is just about to die.
In my service, so okay, I'm back. Yes.
I'm just on about 20% battery.
Yes.
And it looks like there might be a power outage now because I think load shedding should have ended by now. So let me continue. But if it does cut me out, you'll be able to continue from where I stop, eh?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. It is 12:15 now, so we don't have too much long to go. Thank you for that, Reshma. Thank you for that input. I just want to check. Andy, am I still sharing screen?
Yes, you are showing us your working document.
Yes, on the presentation.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's exactly what I need to do. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do? Let's leave it at this. Let's leave it at this. I'm inclined to say, let's leave you guys who are now in the workshop to think about this. What are the other things that you currently do, right? And if you could send us some inputs, whether it's on the WhatsApp chat, you know, even after the workshop has completed, if you can send us some more things that we should include in this list here, I would really appreciate that. And then we will complete this so that it's included when we share the PDF version of this presentation. Okay, so let's leave it at that. We won't be able to reflect much on the inputs because we don't really have many inputs. Safe to say that there are some strategic things that you are busy with. But there are also many non-strategic things that you do as well. I know you, I mean, we all know you attend workshops, you fill in forms, you send out application forms to officials. You are part of the SDF forum where you do presentations and give inputs. You are the person who liaises with LG-CETA. You engage with COCTA, and so on and so on. So there are many of these things, and perhaps it, you know, you need to think about it more and just send us your inputs on the chat, on the WhatsApp group, and then I'll populate this thing further. Okay, let's then move past. Let's see. Right. Now what, yeah, let's just have a few thoughts on this, some inputs here. Do you sometimes find that you want to play a strategic role, but there's something that blocks you? What are the impediments that prevent you from playing that strategic role? Think about the role that we've defined and unpacked this morning. What is it that would stop you from doing some of those things? Okay, there's someone in the chat there who says SDF, that's Lauren, SDF gives inputs to EE with respect to training implemented, occupational category. Okay.
I think that's the previous slide, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's for the previous slide. Okay, let's do this. Let's go there and say you give input to the EE. Now, I suppose mutual stakeholders, it's related. Give inputs EE with respect to training. Okay, implemented. Sorry, training implemented. Training implemented. Occupational category. Oh, I see. Okay. Etc. What is MF? Are you now talking about gender?
Correct, Jonathan.
Right?
Correct, male or female, the gender of those that
Okay.
we've done training.
Thank you, Lauren. Great. Okay. So, what are the things that prevent you from playing a strategic role? What are the impediments? I suppose there's another question that, you know, sort of unspoken a question that comes in is how keen is the skills development facilitator to play the kind of strategic role that we have defined now? Is it possible that some people would rather like to step back and just, you know, be the order taker, ask what skills people need, fill in forms, submit forms, attend workshops, and not really engage the strategic matters? Is it possible that, you know, there are people who would rather not function strategically? I mean, it's not a question that needs to be answered. It's just food for thought. But, you know, my comment to that is that such person should not be in a skills development role, because the nature of the role is strategic. And if the person is not keen on functioning strategically, they are depriving the organization of the kind of capacity building that's necessary to achieve the objectives and improve service delivery.
Jonathan, can I comment on that? I mean, my own experience often is that you go and see a line manager and they've already got their list of stuff that they want to have people trained on. So, you know, you can be confronted with somebody who says, here's my list. And how do you then say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that until I understand how it fits in with the IDP?
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, Andy, is the fact that this HOD comes with a list. And when you start saying, okay, look, let's have a meeting. Let's look at it in relation to the skills needs in your department that are necessary for that. And the HOD says, who are you to talk to me like that? Just go and do your job and register these people for this training, please. You know, now what you are bringing, Andy, is, you know, how do you then deal with that? And I mean, that's what this slide is all about. What stops you from being strategic, and how will we overcome that?
Jonathan, I think especially with what Andy just said, say for instance, some of us maybe it's not, say for instance, you have a manager that really have that role, the SDF role, and you are, although sometimes you maybe as an assistant SDF play a certain role, but the manager actually has that power. I'm thinking sometimes it might be fear that prevents people, for you as an SDF, to play a strategic role. I think fear is maybe one of it, but it's really fear because, say for instance, it's all your superiors that you need to now convince. Luckily for me, I'm not in that situation because, you know, I talk a lot. So actually they listen to me. But I mean, everybody is not the same. We're not the same. So sometimes people, some ACFs like talking, so it comes naturally for them. Some is more they are introverts. So they will let the manager actually do the talking. So I think it's sometimes it might be that fear, because I mean, am I now going to talk in front of the CFO and the director and the MM, and everybody will be listening to me? I think that might be also yeah, prevents one from playing that strategic role.
Okay.
I think you spot on, Lauren. I think often the senior managers are intimidating just because they are senior and they're older and they seem to know what they're doing. And it can be hard to, yeah, it can be hard to, you know, ask them to explain themselves or ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else prevents you from
something else I want to suggest here, and I don't know whether people have experienced it, but you know, often it's not a role that the managers expect you to play. They've got their own idea as to what your job is, and so there's almost, if you like, a resistance to change. That if you want to come and do it differently, you've got to, in a way, explain yourself. Why are you trying to do it differently, and why are you asking these questions? I don't know if that's an experience people have.
What do you guys say? But I mean, this is the type of session where we really do need quite a bit of participation. Because as you would imagine, we're now working towards saying, if this is the role that you currently play, let's look at why are you sometimes unable to function strategically in the way that it's been defined, and what can we do to overcome that? So we're working towards a situation in which you are going to come up with an action plan that you are going to work on so that you can become more strategic by changing some of the ways that you've been doing things, by taking on some things that you were not doing before, and by working on overcoming the blockages, you know, as part of your action plan, so that you can start moving closer towards that strategic role that we have defined. So that's the nature of this part of the workshop. But as I say, it does need quite a bit of interaction and inputs from your side.
Jonathan, maybe also sometimes one is unsure of you're unsure about your own capabilities. Not that you are not, that you don't have the sufficient knowledge per se, but you are just unsure of your own capabilities. So if you just actually try it and do it, you'll be surprised as well.
Yeah. Okay. It also points back to the lack of confidence. Yeah. Okay. Now,
won't you capture the suggestion? Which is,
sorry,
what's the
suggestion?
Yeah, have confidence in your own abilities.
Yeah, improve your confidence. And there are obviously things that you can do to achieve that, right? On the side of the fear for superiors, how does one overcome that? How does one overcome that feeling of intimidation?
To have the courage, eh?
Eh?
You just have to muster up your courage.
Yeah. I suppose one of the things that if you can find the courage to actually discuss this with your manager. You know, but let's say find a way to address this fear. And I mean the actual activities. There could be a range of activities that you could explore as a way of addressing this thing of feeling intimidated by other seniors.
Jonathan, if you say, for instance, just thinking of your normal your monthly meetings, because then you will be in a space with your superiors and your subordinates, can be then also a start, you know, to address this fear, because once you to give your opinion about the work that you discuss within your departmental meetings, so it will it will create how can I say, you will feel later on, you will feel much more confident to raise issues, because those issues that you would raise would become it comes from your own yeah, so yeah, you get used to it after a while. So then once you've climbed that ladder by voicing your opinion in a monthly meeting, it can actually escalate to other meetings as well, where your manager can maybe ask you to present, say for instance, this was your thought, present this to a larger audience, you know.
So as a starting point, be vocal in meetings, come out and give inputs, give suggestions, give your opinion. And the more you do it, the more you'll build your confidence. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And I also want to suggest something there too. You know, I think one of the best ways to develop your confidence is to do some dry runs, to practice it, to practice what you're going to say to people.
Andy, just if I can just pause quickly. I'm getting all kinds of warnings on my laptop now. What I'd like to do, because I'm working offline on my laptop, I just want to save this into Work Drive so that you can access it if I do drop out, so that you have this version. So if you could just bear with me for 1 second, let me just save this. Close it. And it stopped sharing now, eh? Okay, let me just quickly do that. Sorry, guys. I just don't want this thing to cut me off, and then Andy doesn't have access to this version. Okay, there it is. Oops. And sorry. Paste it there. Okay, I've got it in the drive now, Andy.
Okay, can I open it?
Yeah, just see if you find it there.
Not yet, huh?
Not there. Okay.
Jonathan, let's
Nice.
not stress. I think we've got a good
Here it
start
is.
on that slide.
Okay, I've replaced the other one.
Okay.
So you should, if you update, it should be there now.
Okay. And I would suggest carrying on until.
So I think what you can do, can you open it from your side and share the screen, and I'll continue. And wherever it cuts me off, it's easier for you just to continue.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. We're just trying to manage the impact of our power problems in this country. Okay. Have you got that version now, Andy?
Here we go.
Thank you. Yes, that's the one. Sure.
And I will type if
yeah,
if
you can type then.
Suggestions.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, guys. So let's continue the conversation then. I probably still have a few minutes on here. What are the other things that stop you from operating strategically? Is there are there any budgetary constraints, or are there protocol issues? Are there issues related to, I don't know, or perhaps you haven't thought about it? So if you think about the kind of roles that we've described, where you need a direct line of sight with the IDP, are you permitted to attend sessions where the IDP is being discussed? Are you being blocked from attending certain meetings? You know, those are the kind of things I can think of where you'd like to play the strategic role, but you're being blocked. So it's about saying, what are those things that prevent you from being strategic? And let's reflect what can be done about it. Now, remember, this is not a document that is going to be a report that will be submitted where you're going to get into trouble for saying certain things. Here we're just reflecting and capturing so that you can have some ideas on what you can do to change the situation for yourself. Okay, so perhaps let's leave you thinking about that. Let's move to the next slide, Andy. Now we can go presentation mode.
Are we good to go?
Yes, we're good. We're on presentation mode. Next slide.
Come on.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. You can just give us all those points right through to the bottom of the screen there. Okay. So now we went back to ChatGPT and we asked it, what can one do to become a strategic learning and development professional? So we applied that. We just adapted the heading to as a municipal SDF. What can you do? So number one, understand the business, right? So you are not going to be strategic if you don't understand the business of your organization. And here we're obviously talking about back to that IDP. So you need to understand what's happening at the top. What's the bigger picture? What are our priorities? What would the municipality like to achieve in the next year? You need to understand the business. How does it function? What skills are needed? That skills identification process is part and parcel of it, right? Then you must align learning and development with the business needs. So you know the business, align learning and development. And you've seen in the one slide how we've shown how you can link learning and development to the objectives, right? Measure impact, we've covered that. Network and stay current. Being part of the ASDSA is a very powerful networking platform, and staying current. And so, you know, through the candidacy program, professional designation, and the CPD, you are going to stay current, which is brilliant. And it's one of the things that the ChatGPT suggested as being important if you are going to want to become more strategic, right? Continuously improve yourself. Continuously improve the work that you are required to do. So the whole notion of continuous improvement, and then communicate effectively. Well, we've covered the professional conduct of a skills development facilitator at the time. And communication was part and parcel of that. So here we're talking about responding to emails, the language you use, you know, your proactiveness, informing people of what you're doing, informing them of things they need to do. And earlier we were talking about having reliable and accurate data so that you
I think we have lost Jonathan. I see he's not, I think his batteries must have finally died. So let me carry on with the remaining comments that we need to make here. The purpose of this slide is to help you start looking at the areas where you can put some of your energy to try and become more effective as a strategic learning and development professional. So I'm going to ask you to have a look at these areas and say to yourself, which of them, and just to pick a couple of them, and you say to yourself, if I do more of that, it will be useful for me because I'm not using that, that tool at this time. And that then is the focus now. As a municipal SDF, how do I become more strategic as an L&D professional in my municipality? We've got Jonathan back. Jonathan, can you hear us? Oh, he's not talking as yet. So I'm going to ask each of you as your follow-up on this workshop to firstly to look to your two topics.
There we are.
There you are, Jonathan. We can hear you now. Do you want to carry on?
No, finish, Andy, finish. You were in the middle of something.
Yeah. So think back over those 6 areas. Now, I'll go back to them in a moment that you can have a look at, but choose 2 of them that for you will make the biggest difference if you focus on them to help you become more effective in a strategic role. And then think about what you could do to improve the strategic nature of your role in those areas. And then set yourself a target with some actions and a review date, a self-review date where you can check your progress. And that becomes your action plan coming out of this workshop to help you become more strategic. And we're going to ask you for feedback. Obviously, you know, as you know, when you ask for feedback, it's up to you to tell us, to share. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But set yourself an action plan now as to what you can do, bearing in mind those pointers, to help you become more strategic. So I'm going to go back there for a couple of minutes while you can have a look at them and make your own notes about what you can do. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
And yeah, think about the other things too. I mean, we were talking about the issues of lack of confidence. Mbali was talking about fear and so on. So perhaps there are those kinds of things as well, for which you'd like to make some notes on what you can do to address those blockages. I've logged in with my phone now, Andy.
I thought you might do something like that. You're still without power.
Yep, something's wrong. Now we're way beyond a load shedding, and we often do get that where the area now has a power outage.
I'll give you 2 more minutes to put your plan together. I think that's probably given people enough time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on from the slide, just to go back to the slide for a moment. So just to recap your plan, 2 areas. You've thought about what you can do to improve the strategic nature of your role, and you've given yourself some sort of a target and a review date to check your progress. Okay. Then let's.
Yeah,
so
that's.
Now we're going to start wrapping up, and there are 2 things. One is to ask you to complete a knowledge test that'll help you check whether you've grasped the key issues that we've spoken about today. And also, at the end of it, there is a place for you to give feedback on the workshop as we've done in our previous sessions. So I'm going to move to those polls now. Okay, and if you can then complete them for yourself.
Andy, I think I've answered one question, but I'm not sure. Was it only the one question that was up? I think I might.
You should find more if you
No.
scroll.
Oops. Then
just
yeah.
Scroll down.
Okay, so because I press submit, man, and I thought, no, maybe that's not.
We're hoping
I'm
that you
sorry.
answer. There are four questions. The first one is, do you know your name? Which is, I think, easy. And then there are 3 more.
Sorry, I've only answered one. I think one question and I press submit. Apologies.
Not a problem. Nontomisa, you've got your hand up. Please unmute and chat.
Yes, me too. I didn't answer all the questions, just went submit and the screen went off.
Oh, no.
Enthusiastic. I think you can go back in again. To see if you can't go back in again and answer some more.
I hope you got the name right, though.
That's the one thing I think I got right. So how do we access the other questions now?
Hopefully it lets you scroll down. It's the first time we've used this particular version. Can you scroll down?
I can't because I just saw submit, so I've submitted. So now there's nothing. I can only see the knowledge test and workshop feedback.
Oh.
So there's no way I can scroll up and down to see the other questions.
Then I am stuck.
Oh boy. I suppose when you
do their thing and we'll.
Yeah, I suppose when you once you submit, it disappears from that user's screen.
Yeah, I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
What I'll try and do is let's let everybody get done, and then I'll try and reload it and see if it'll allow you to make a second attempt at it.
Okay, thank you.
And it should then also take you to the feedback questionnaire. So there was a submit button at the end, but then it took you back. There's nothing beyond that. We're playing with new toys here, so I think we've missed out here. We have to practice some more and try and get this right.
Right, and the other guys, are you still busy?
I see there's one person still responding.
I'm done. I submitted all the questions.
Nice.
Let me stop sharing. The poll should still be up. Yes, here we go. Jonathan, we are at an end. I'm not sure who else is still busy working on the knowledge test. But if the people who have finished are done, okay, I will rerun it in a minute. Okay, let's give it another minute for people to finish off, and then I'll rerun it and see if we can't help the people who left too early.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 of
Yeah, I
6
think-
people have completed. Cynthia, we will be done by 1 o'clock, promise.
Yeah, it's only the evaluation survey now after this.
It should be part of the same exercise, Jonathan. And if people are submitting and then it's closing it, then we might not. I think we're going to have to run them separately next time.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea, but I don't think it's worked.
Mm.
So I'm going to end the poll now because we've got 5 out of 5 who've dealt with it. Does anybody still need time to complete it? Well, I'm going to finish it and reload it for the 2 people who didn't do all the questions.
Mm. Yeah, I think you should redo it now.
Okay. End poll.
And if someone didn't complete, they could just take advantage of the rerun.
Relaunched poll. Here we go. Do I want to? No, I don't want to. I don't want to clear existing. And so I want to download results. There you go. And now I can relaunch poll. So the 2 people who didn't finish all the questions, please, can you do that now? Go back into it.
Thank you. I'll start now. Thanks. Okay, I've submitted those questions. Thanks, Andy.
Great, I see that. Thank you. Jonathan, do you want to make any closing comments while the last person completes this poll?
Yes, maybe I should. Can you hear, Andy?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Right, colleagues. So I think we've got a very fair idea from Mbali's earlier question about the recording, that the content of this workshop was meaningful to you guys. And if we really want to be taken seriously in the municipality and in the skills development space, we genuinely need to view these topics that the workshops are covering in a very serious light. These are this is the pathway towards true professionalism and towards causing people to stop in their tracks and take note that we have arrived, and we have arrived to make a difference in the organizations that we work for. So it's really up to each and every person to embrace and action these things. You know, we are accustomed to attending workshops. Some officials, it's their bread and butter. You know, they live to attend workshops, but you go to workshops, you come back, there's a report, and you carry on with normal life. And you go to another workshop and so on. I would like to encourage you to have a different approach to this candidacy program and the workshops that we run with you, the way in which we try to involve you at a practical level in applying these things in your own situation, because it's going to be amazing the respect that you're going to get from your superiors and from stakeholders around you when you really start, you know, getting some of these things happening in your personal situation. So I can only encourage you to do that, you know, and continue the journey with your POE for those that have not yet submitted. For those that have and are working on remediations, don't become discouraged whatsoever. You are almost there. So, you know, just cross that finishing line and achieve that milestone in your life. So from my side, I'll remain in contact. You will be hearing from me in the days that follow, and then we'll be in contact concerning the next workshop that will be coming up. We are obviously having conversation about the low participation rate in the background, and we're trying to understand it and find ways of addressing it, because we wouldn't like any of the colleagues to be losing out on value as they are doing at the moment. So on that note, thank you very much from my side for your participation, for staying with us in the workshop up to this point. And apologies for myself disappearing now because of the electricity crisis here. But I'd like to wish you well, enjoy your weekend, and until we speak again, stay safe. That's it from my side, Andy.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.